Well, it's great to speak to you again, Jared. We've just been chatting off camera about how long it's been. 2 years. It's crazy where the time has gone.
Yeah, it's been forever. Yeah.
Well, as always, when we do catch up, it feels like only yesterday. New single which you've just released, "Girl Like You." What a classic as well to play a cover for. A little bit of pressure there.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I never would have tried it if it didn't have such a deep-seated meaning for me, I think. I don't know if you saw the original press release, but it was basically I was 18 years old. I remember hearing stories every once in a while where somebody will talk about how this extreme life event happened during a certain song. I knew somebody once that saw somebody choke in a bar while listening to American Pie by Don McLean. Like, they saw somebody choke, they saw the paramedics come, they saw the like all these crazy things that happened during one song. And so that's similar for me in the sense of, I was in a really bad tornado in Ohio when I was 18, and I saw a woman drown. Yeah, so ever since then, it's kind of been like this, playing in the back of my head, my first experience with seeing a real, live, well, not live, but an actual dead person, so.
And was that song was playing in the car at the time, or?
Yeah, and it was playing in the car. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a crazy thing. So just feeling so like helplessly, surreal at the time, so I mean, that's a big part of the reason why I wanted to do that song. So
yeah, and what a fantastic version you've done. And as you say, it's such an iconic track. The guitar tones through it. It's got that wonderful fuzzy. They almost remind me of that Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds effects that he got in some of those guitar and keyboard sounds. But let's talk about how you recreated your sounds on the single, because it's pretty unique.
Yeah. It wasn't hard for us to take like a fuzz guitar approach, because that's more or less our style anyway. What I liked about the original, Edwyn Collins cut is it's such a cool blend of like a Motown feel, in the drums and the rhythm, with like a sexy psychedelic guitar, that go-go dancers could dance to. I think literally in the music video for that originally, there were go-go dancers in the background. So, but yeah, for me, I thought we could add a little bit to it by just going a little psychotic at the end. In particular with more guitars, I think, and with my vocals too. Just adding a different element there that I don't think that the original had, really. So
yeah, it's good to stamp your authority, your own identity onto a track as well, and you've certainly done that on this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, we had a great time actually using the Maestro Echoplex. It's this tape loop machine that was used heavily in the 70s. So
oh wow,
that iconic riff, of the is actually my guitar played twice at different speeds on the loop. So put them together originally. Casey, the producer, wasn't sure that it would work, but it surprisingly worked really well to have this kind of warble in the middle. It doesn't sound like anything else I've ever created before. So it was a really cool little trick we came up with. So
awesome. And what guitars were you playing on the track? Because I'm sure you have a feast of guitars to play over your music.
I think I used my 93 Gibson Nighthawk on that one. I tend to use guitars that are lighter. Maybe because I'm a wimp. I don't want to carry around these huge, bulging, back-breaking guitars.
It's called getting older.
That could be it too. Yeah. So I'm just getting lazy. So
awesome. What have you got in your hands there? What have we got there?
I always feel kind of weird with, like, I don't know what to do with my hands during an interview. So that's why I brought the guitar. But this is just my Guild, my Polara. So this is my newest guitar.
Lovely. So where did you record the track?
We did this one 100% in Dallas, at Valve Studios, with Casey Diorio, and then Ian Davenport worked on it as well. Ian actually on this one did like some production finishing and then some mixing, but Casey did the majority of it. So we did the vocals really quick. I mean, I'm looking back and I'm amazed because I think we only had an hour or something to do all the vocals on A Girl Like You. And I just we did one takes of everything. So,
wow.
I mean, and there's probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 different vocal takes on it, when you double and then you harmonize. And so we did it pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And the results are absolutely fantastic. As I say, you've stamped your own authority on a quite a memorable song that we'll remember forever. The end bit where you said you've added all those guitars in, I read in the press release that kind of reminded you about, without being too graphic, the thrashing of this poor young soul that lost her life in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. You probably put it better than I did already.
I've been practicing this morning.
That kind of like surreal, pulsating, grasping for some kind of clarity in the moment. And I think I realized a lot on Frenzy that I was talking about water a lot and swimming and drowning and all these things. And I think finally I realized that it came from this, this experience that I had just kind of pushed down for a while,
Yeah.
But I've always kind of been obsessed with water since then, so.
Yeah. Well, of course, you've just touched on Frenzy. Looking back through, I was looking back through the website, and I always remember the day you sent me an email, just a random email saying, "Hey, would you like to listen to the album?" And it was one of those albums that I pressed play on and just couldn't stop. And it ended up being number 3 in 2020 for us for our albums of the year. And it only just was behind Blackstone Cherry and a band called Robert John and the Wreck. A fantastic album that I still regularly go to. And you very kindly sent me a signed copy of the vinyl, which I still play regular. It's a fantastic album.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love it too. Yeah. I still, it's sometimes you make something and then years later you go, oh man, I really wish I'd done that differently, but I'm happy with Frenzy. It was like our blues rock album. It was like, when those bands from the 60s and 70s, they would come out with like, an album of very, very bluesy stuff, and then they move on from there. So yeah, I think it was a good start.
So there's a little hint there. Moving on from there, you've been in the UK, you've been back to Courtyard Studios, which is obviously where Frenzy was recorded. And for those who don't know, where Radiohead and Gaz Coombs with Supergrass work. How was that to go back there again?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was amazing. It's funny, the small little things that you think of when you travel, like I go to Courtyard and I immediately start thinking of Walker's crisps, and I'm like, oh great. Now I can eat potato chips all day, and of course I can do that here in the States, but just there, it seems like the thing to do. Right. So
of course,
but yeah, I mean, it's those small things of like, oh, there's a peacock that hangs out in the morning outside of Courtyard Studios. And in the whole village. He wakes everyone up in the morning. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever heard a peacock like like screaming or whatnot, but it's the most like blood chilling sound you will ever hear. But it's those things like when you go back and you're like, oh my God, like I love this. I've totally forgot about this.
I'm starting to get a picture of where your inspiration comes from. Drowning women and screeching peacocks. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's how I wake up. To the sound of screeching. Yeah.
There's a name for an album if ever you need one. The Screeching Peacocks. What a band.
I think, you know what? I think actually somebody did that. They recorded their Courtyard, because Ian told me this story. Somebody recorded an album at Courtyard, and then the front album cover was the peacock on the roof.
Oh,
and
wow.
They actually referenced the peacock because it was like such a crazy thing.
How
I don't remember it being a very clever title, but
well, of course, you mentioned Ian Davenport again, who you worked very well with. It just was a partnership that clicked with the whole album and the sound of the band. Again, I'm presuming you've worked with him on the follow up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I suppose that was just like jumping back a weekend after being there last time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Ian's like this crazy mix of like a mentor and like an older brother and and a bandmate, and it's just all of the things you would want in a producer. Like he works harder than we do, and we work really hard. I mean, there were times in mixing this where I told Ian, I was like, we pulled an all-nighter one night mixing the album. And I told Ian, I was like, if we have, like, please, if you got to take a break, man, like, feel free to take a break, because there's only so much coffee you can have in the day. But he's phenomenal, right? Yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal. I love him. He's great.
So when can we expect a little hint of when the album could be out?
It's a really good question. We're building up anticipation right now. With A Girl Like You, and then there is a song that I am not going to put on the album that will release next, called Love Won't Let Me Go. And the only reason I'm not putting it on the album is just I think the album was too long originally. It was like 50 minutes or something. So I thought we can get some more mileage by taking it off, releasing it as a single. So that'll be next within the next 2 months or so, 2-3 months.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Because I remember the first album, there was about 12 tracks on Frenzy. Uh-huh. So, and I remember you saying, I think you took in about 15 or 16 to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, I think we started with 12 and we ended up recording 11. There'll probably be 10 on the album. But it's still some crazy, high, like 45 minutes of music or something,
Brilliant.
So
fantastic. And of course, something we spoke about very briefly in the first interview was your birth town, and there it is emblazoned on the t-shirt, Cleveland, Ohio, the home of the Hall of Fame of rock and roll.
Cleveland, yeah.
How cool.
The phrase rock and roll was first coined there. So
do you ever get to go back?
I go back 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah.
But the nomination hasn't come through yet for the actual awards. You just linger around the outside of the award ceremony for the Hall of Fame.
I can tell people I've been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
there we go. put it on the album notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember you saying when you did go to Courtyard last time, you had some technical hitches and had to pilfer some of Mr. Coombs's gear to finish the album. Were you a bit more prepared this time?
I think so. I think for this one, I might have been overly prepared, like I said, like the first album was more like a jam rock, blues rock kind of thing, and it was good. And it still had organization to it. This one had uber because I write all the parts essentially, the bass lines and the different rhythm guitars and all that, and then I present it to the band, and then they play it better than I do. So, um, which has worked out pretty well. So, but yeah, I think because of COVID, I had too much time on my hands or whatever, but it just worked to put the energy into that, so.
Yeah. And of course, that was the sad thing about Frenzy for you. You've released this fantastic album and didn't get the chance to tour the album either. So it's almost going to be jumping out the blocks to kind of go out on a double album launch once finally you can get out and play the new stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's going to be like a 4-hour show. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you've already put the pressure on.
That's it. Get your tickets, folks. Value for money.
Exactly. I would love to play in Australia. I would love to. Yeah.
We'd love to have you down here. And I know if you could tag on with someone like the Rival Sons, what a perfect blend of bands that would be.
Mm-hmm.
That was something we spoke about last time. Frenzy was recorded almost very much like a live sessions in the studio. Did you do the same thing? Just stay with the same formula?
Yes. Except we did the main band parts in Dallas. And then I went back to England and finished off the guitars and vocals and everything else. But yeah, it was the, 4 guys in a room, kind of thing. So
brilliant. Of course, you say you finished off the guitars, the vocals, and the crisps.
Oh man, so many crisps.
This album has been sponsored by Walkers.
It could have been, yeah, amazing. And cheese and pickle.
Oh, you can't. Well, I've just been back and spent £50 on bringing back crisps of various natures for the store cupboard, so I totally get it.
Yeah. I never eat potato chips here, and then I go there, and it's like the thing I do. So
yeah. So what's been happening for you since the album recording now? Is it just sitting tight and waiting to drip feed us some of this new music and then entice us into the album?
Yeah. It's being passed around to managers and labels and things like that. And in the meantime, I'm going to start, like I said, putting out those B-sides, songs that didn't quite make it to the album. Still good songs, but it's just too much recorded. And then, yeah, I should have a better idea of when it comes out, probably in the next couple months.
Awesome. We look forward to hearing that and pushing that on our site because we loved Frenzy. I know we've got some friends in Perth that absolutely loved Frenzy and can't wait to hear more from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, love it. I love the Rockpit. So.
And we love you. But I'm going to finish with a few questions for you. Now, I hope you haven't gone back and read our original interview, but I asked you at the end if you could be credited with writing any song. What song would you wish to be credited with? And I have your answer here. I'd just like to see what your answer would be now, whether it would be a bit of a change or whether you remembered what you said before.
This is a good question. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was Happy Together.
That's still the one that was from the first interview. Yeah, the Turtles. Yeah. Oh. That's good. That means you weren't lying.
Yeah. No, I think that song's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm pleased that it's the same answer. That means it was a genuine answer. That's great. Here's a good one for you. A fly on the wall. If you could be a fly on the wall watching any album during the eons of music that have been recorded, and you could just sit there on that wall in the studio and watch, what album would you love to have watched being produced?
That's a good question. I would have originally said like Abbey Road, but the Beatles Get Back documentary came out, so I kind of feel like I've got to be a fly on the wall a little bit.
Yeah.
I think lately I've been thinking about Dark Side of the Moon, or even Animals, or Wish You Were Here by by Pink Floyd. But any one of those juggernaut, EMI albums of the 70s. would have been phenomenal, I think, to watch David Gilmour splice together his guitar solos into one main solo, because I think that's how he did it. He would kind of just goof around, and then he'd take out the parts that he liked, and then edit those with the parts he liked from other takes, and then you'd have one fantastic guitar solo.
Wow.
From what I've read. But to me, that would have been incredible to watch him do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, when I was over in the UK, I managed to find some of my vinyl at my mum's house in a storage box, and I managed to find my original pressing of the gatefold of Wall on vinyl. So I managed to get that home, and my mum gave me an original pressing of the Beatles, which she bought back in the day. So that came back as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll be flicking through some of them this weekend, I think. So.
Did you grow up in the UK, or?
Yeah, I've only been in Australia 11 years now. So, but that was the first time I've been back in 11 years. So it was a bit of a shock to go back and see people sat in the same chairs that they were 11 years ago in the pubs, not moving.
Right. Yeah.
A couple of people went, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a couple of years." I said, "Yeah, it's been 11." The concept of time evades some people.
Yeah. See, that's another thing in England. The bar or the pubs are so charming and quiet.
Yes.
Whereas here in the States, I mean, it's music blaring, it's everything's vying for your attention. It's not a relaxing place at all here in the States.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you walked into the pub again after 2 to 3 years and the bloke went, "Do you want your usual?" Because they always remember your usual.
Right. Yeah. And I love that people remember that, right? It makes you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Your usual pint and your Walker's crisps. There you go. And your chair. You take your bar stool, same bar stool you were on before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good old England. Well, I'm going to finish with it.
People recognize me with my hair, so they don't remember my name, but they remember the hair. So
that's the guy with the accent and the hair. He's back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember meeting Canadian heavy metal band Anvil when they were here back in the day. They were in England in a little village recording the album This Is 13, and they filmed a lot of the documentary in the village. And my mate rang me and went, "Guess who's in the pub?" And I went, "Who?" He went, "Anvil." I went, What Anvil, the Canadian heavy metal band?" He went, "Yeah." I went, "Get out of it." He said, "Come down." I walked in and there they were. And they frequented it all the way during the recording of the album.
Nice.
With their
that's awesome.
Bandanas on and Anvil t-shirts. They were walking adverts for the band. It was like, "Oh, those are the Anvil guys with all the Anvil merch on."
Yeah.
But again, the locals loved it. They were sort of playing darts and eating pickled eggs and things like that. It was great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, I've saved one of my other colleagues' questions for the last one, and it could be a bit deep and meaningful. To you, what is the meaning of life?
You went from Anvil to the meaning of life.
Yes. That could be their new album title as well.
I think, and this is going to sound really cliche, I think that a lot of life is suffering and pain. And I think the meaning of life is learning how to have joy through all of that. And I say that because I'm not good at it. But I think there's a lot of wisdom in saying, to be human is to feel pain, but being wise means you can find the joy in all of that. So, and not letting all that pain ruin you. You know what I mean? I mean, not letting it bury you and overwhelm you and, make you want to, skip out. But I think that's what it is. I could be wrong, but I think anybody, I look up to anybody who's older than I am and has gone through all the, the shit that, humans go through, and can be happy, when they go to the store, or, not be annoyed when they get in the car about other car drivers, or, They can be on the phone with customer service and wait there, and it doesn't ruin their day. You know, I envy those people. And I think those are the people to look up to. Those are the people that have learned how to find joy, even though you're doing mundane things. I mean, I think that's what it is. So
that's a great answer. And you know, you picked some examples that really can push buttons.
Yeah, they pushed my buttons today. I hated all those people on the road.
Especially when they're on the phone onto a call center.
Yeah.
So what next? Sorry.
If you asked me in 3 years, I might forget that answer, Sean. So
I'll have it written down somewhere. Just don't forget Happy Together by the Turtles and we'll be fine.
Yeah. See?
So what's happening for you now? Is it a case of you're just taking a little rest as we build up, or is there still writing going? Is it something you do naturally? Just pick up the guitar and write?
I'm always writing because I need it. I need to focus my emotions in an area, you know. So I don't want to say it because people get excited. I'm probably halfway through with another album right now, as far as like songs that are ready to go, you know. And
yeah,
and I'm also in the process of doing music videos and things for the next album, for album 2. So
yeah, I remember you saying off the first album that you'd written. I remember you saying, because we laughed about it. You said, "I've written a bunch of songs that are even better than the first album." I said, "But hang on, you haven't released the first album."
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I just I got to keep going, you know.
Yeah. So that's it. Creative. Keep that creative flow going.
Yeah. Wow. Keep it moving.
We're certainly excited to push Girl Like You out on the site, and we're looking forward to the next single. And I am most certainly eagerly awaiting my inbox to have a listen to the album. I remember you sending me what might have been perspective artwork in the past, which looked stunning. So yeah, very excited to hear the new album.
I'll have the new album mastered next month. I'll send you a little sneak peek if you'd like.
That'd be fantastic. That would be wonderful.
Just don't tell anybody.
I won't. We won't tell them. Listen, Jared, it's absolutely wonderful to catch up again. It's always great to talk to you, my friend. I always love to hear what you've been up to and the creativity that's flying out of you. And we're really excited to see the next chapter for the band.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. And like I said, I love Rockpit. Love talking to you. And feel free to give me a call this weekend if you want. We'll catch up on the personal side.
Yeah, definitely. So. We most definitely will. I'm around all weekend. Oh, the sun's out as well. The sun's just popped out. Coffee's on the go. Sun's out.
We'll figure out the time zones.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks ever so much for your time, as always. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing the next part of the journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye.